I think that this is just a lot of hearsay. You have a lot of guys like Damian Burkhardt, which I think is the author of this article, talking about how the Lakers are now willing to do it. I think that that's a little malarkey. And again, it comes down to Laker fans, delusional Laker fans, once again, trying to create stories, trying to do things to say this guy is really coming to our organization, or this guy's really doing what, this guy's really going to where we want to go. That's not it at all. Like, if we continue to read, like, even this Lakers account that I look at, rumors circulate that some NBA executives believe the Lakers could and should trade for both Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving. We talked about KD publicly showing love to Braun's shoe. Braun responds to his love of his shoe back. Appreciation for KD's new shoe. All a coincidence, ? With a thinking emoji. Laker fans, you guys are the most delusional fan. You guys are literally the Dallas Cowboys of the NBA. There is not a day that goes by when I look at Lakers Nation, when I look at Twitter, and I see all these Laker fans. And again, the reason why I see that is because I'm a LeBron fan. I understand. LeBron, I respect him. I think that he's a GOAT. And I know there's a lot of people that respect him, and Laker fans probably are the most disrespectful to him, personally, when I think about it. And every time I see Laker news, anytime I see the Lakers are talked about, there's always something happening for them, right? We talked about how now execs believe that Durant and that Durant and Irving will come to LA. You got this Lakers Nation. Lakers now willing to give up the picks to include it. I mean, you talk about, talking about New York Daily News writer Christian Winfield. I mean, what sources do these people have? Again, you can talk about speculating like I am right now. Like, I could speculate all the news and rumors that I want. I could say, according to people close, and I talked about this a year ago with the Bradley Beal extension story, and I hope you guys are paying attention. We talked about the way and framing of things by certain news reporters that you guys need to be careful of when it comes to this stuff. So you don't fall for it. You don't look like a clown when you repost it to your friends. When you look at stuff that says sources familiar with the situation or people close to the situation, that could mean a numerous amount of things if you think about it. Let's say close to the situation. Close to the situation could be someone just randomly standing outside the Lakers practice facility, and I could just ask him, hey, did you hear anything about Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving? And he could say something, and that counts, and that equates to sources familiar, or sources near the people familiar with the sources, or people near the situation. Like, what are we doing here, Laker fans? Why are we perpetually throwing out fake news? This is not okay. I don't understand the way at times when newspaper writers, especially in the sports media, because that's where I get a little bit frustrated when I read the news and things like that. Sources close to the situation, sources familiar with it. What does familiar mean? Like, hey, I've seen trades happen like this before. This is how it happened. This is probably how it will happen. The reason why I get frustrated with Laker fans, and more so with the news reporters out there in these streets, who are just making up sources and just making up stuff as they go, it continues to be frustrating to understand. We know that they're trying to go for clicks. Like, that's really it. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. And so as you guys continue to read news articles, as we continue to look at sources, again, we talked about this, Ian Begley, I think that he's a respectable guy. I think it's a respectable journalist. Again, we talked about Nets initially asked, like, we can look at this. Like, I'm not, we could look at this from the Boston Globe. Like, let's see if this is I want to get out of here. I don't want to sign up for this. So let's see here. See, like, look at this. Like, we talked, the article goes to say the latest on Kevin Durant. I mean, we talked about it here, right? The Nets initially asked Celtics for both Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum in the Kevin Durant trade. And then meanwhile, we say a league source says there has not been any real traction on that deal for the Brooklyn Nets. And no surprise that the sides have come to some discussion, of course. Like, come on. I understand it's a slow summer. I understand that there's not a lot to talk about because there hasn't been really any moves since the Rudy Gobert trade. And if so, it's been really minor moves like two-way deals, maybe contract extension talks, maybe a little bit of signing players here and there. We have got to stop this sort of, I'm trying to think of the right word. I understand it's supposed to be this extravaganza, create the rumors, create the talking points. So ESPN and First Take and First Things First, like all these news outlets and all these people, Rob Parker, Chris Broussard, trying to think of who else is there, Nick Wright, Skip Bayless, Shannon Sharp. Like, I get it. I understand that you want them to have topics to talk about so they can continue talking about the same topics. LeBron James, Kevin Durant, this and that, Cowboys, Lakers, blah, 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 blah. All the top teams and all this stuff. Enough is enough. There is no new news. So what are we doing here? There has to come a point in time where you just have to let everything go. If there's nothing new, don't report on it. It's just that simple. I don't understand why we're in the situation right now that we're in currently in this world where we always have to talk about the same things over and over again. And again, I'm guilty of it as well. I'm not saying that I'm a perfect, YouTuber that only talks about the same things. I've talked about Ben Simmons ad nauseum about same stories, but I have to call myself out as well. And so, like, the reason why I have to call myself out at times when it comes to this stuff is because it has to come to a point in time where we just enjoy life for what it is. We don't always have to be engulfed in the sport unless there's huge breaking news. Like today, I went to talk about this Desai stuff because obviously he's obviously put out a tweet talking about it. Again, like I talked about earlier in the article, he put out a tweet saying that the office and front staff have my full support. I had to talk about it. That he talked about it. It wasn't Ian Begley saying it. It wasn't anybody else. If Kevin Durant said it or Steve Nash said something, I would talk about that too. But the fact that we go here to this Laker talk and we talk about the New York Daily News on Kevin Durant interest. Not really that much interesting. Talking about here. Obviously, we talked about that already. Again, I know I'm going on a tangent. I know that this is not necessarily, breaking news and things like that. But Laker fans, I want you guys to hear me on this. I understand that you're excited for the potentially getting Kyrie Irving. I get it. But let's not be out here spewing stuff because you heard it from one unreliable newspaper source that has said things such as Exhibit A, close to the source, familiar with the source. Trying to think of other words that the newspaper articles that people in the news people say, especially in sports. Familiar with the source. Close to the source, familiar with his thinking. We can't do that. We cannot do that as people that report on news when it comes to, like I said, those shows on ESPN and Fox Sports. They have to be responsible when it comes to that stuff. There's a reason why they don't talk about everything all the time. There's a reason why I think Twitter becomes such a cesspool at times because of articles like I talked about here. Just making nothing out of something. Again, that is my rant. It's over. And that's kind of it for the live stream. I just kind of wanted to talk about that source and kind of talk about that because, again, I get frustrated as someone that wants to talk about the news and also kind of do my draft video series and other things like that. It does get frustrating and annoying, in my opinion, to continue to hear those type of verbiage, talking about these articles, talking about fandom accounts that are just making news up to get other fans hyped and excited. And then when it doesn't happen, they're not going to blame the person that spread the fake news. they're going to blame the organization. They're going to blame Kyrie Irving. And that's not where the blame should be. It should be to these news sources. It should be to these Twitter accounts. It should be to these newsrooms who are just continuing to perpetuate really garbage articles. But anyway, guys, that is going to do it here for The Charge. Thank you once again for joining us here today. Like I said, I don't want to continue to go ad nauseum, but we're going to end today's stream unless there's something breaking that has happened so far. I don't think so, not as of yet. Let me just make sure that there hasn't really been any news articles on Twitter. Talked about Antonio Brown. There'll be errors. Nothing really. And again, Seahawks getting ready for the offseason. But anyway, guys, like I said, my name is Bernie. Thank you once again for joining us here on The Charge, giving the latest NBA news and rumors and also basketball opinions. Please remember to hit that like, share, and subscribe button if you're new to the channel. Again, the more likes, the more subscribers, the more this channel can grow and develop into be something special. I hope you guys have a great Thursday afternoon, Thursday evening, and enjoy the rest of your day. Again, hope you guys are doing well, and we'll see you guys on the next episode. Peace out, everybody.